Hi, I'm Keegan, and I'm your host of Engineers in Automation. On today's episode, we're going to be talking with Kaleb Travis. He's the CEO of TNT Automation. We're going to talk about how he got into automation, some of the projects he's working on, his work-life balance, and some of the lessons learned that he's had. Now, let's go talk automation. All right, and welcome to the show. It's our first episode of the year in 2023 here. I'm excited to have Kaleb Travis. He's the CEO of TNT Automation. Kaleb, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Give everybody a little background about yourself.
Yeah, I am a major misfit in the automation community. Right. People always give me a hard time because they're like, you sure are a redneck nerd. This doesn't really fit. But no, man, I just, most people know I'm self-employed. I work, it's just me. Uh, I'm not really tied to any industry. And I do a little bit of it all. I do lots of Rockwell, lots of Siemens, some PLC next stuff. I'm starting to do a lot of Codesys projects, but I'm also as dangerous with a meter in my hand. I do a lot of medium voltage to low voltage work. So, and now I'm actually officially breaking into the SCADA space. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
doing some of my
Congrats.
first bit of hosting coming up, which I'm really excited about. And man, I just got my hands in a little bit of whatever's available. If a customer needs help, I'll put my hands on it.
The man does everything. That's great.
That's
So,
right.
how did you get your start in automation? Did you get a
Uh,
degree? Did you do training? How did you start?
Yeah, actually, to be completely transparent with you, it was on accident. I was working on a drilling rig at first, and then when they stacked our rig out and sent it to South America, I decided I didn't want to go to South America. So um, I had gone to Panola College, which is a little community college here in Panola, in Carthage. And I was going for petroleum technology, and the director of the energy department was like, "This was, I think, the semester before I graduated. It's just an associate's degree, nothing crazy." He was like, "Hey, have you heard of E&I?" And I was like, "Well, what's that?" And so, of course, that answered his question. He said, "Well, don't worry. It's a 4 class difference. You should really take it before you graduate. It'd be like an extra semester." Well, I said, "Okay." And so I did, and it was basics of PLC, motor control, some basic electrical, and like one other class. I mean, it wasn't much. Um, and this sounds crazy, but what got me was almost everybody failed the basics of PLC course. And that's really where my love of, like, I knew I was like, okay, we all almost failed this. Something special about this. So that's kind of what got me on that path. And I had got offered an internship right out of college. But one of my questions was, hey, I've been working with these PLC things. I want to keep doing that. And they were like, no, you have to have a master's in either electrical or mechanical or some type of engineering to program that. My uncle at the time, had been working for Shell for like 30 years. He said, look, that ain't right. You can find a company that'll let you get your hands on them. He said, anybody could be an instrument tech. Anybody can calibrate an instrument, check with a voltmeter. He said, but it takes someone special to write some complex code from scratch. I don't know, in my eyes, he was such a big wig. That was what set me on fire. And that's kind of what led to this whole, I mean, it was all completely on accident, really.
Wow. Wow, that's great to see, and I like the non conventional way of getting there. That's
Sure.
it's really cool. So you did mention you're self-employed. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How'd you get to that self-employment? It sounded like you worked somewhere else at first, your first couple jobs, and
Sure.
then jumped into it.
Yeah, I've worked in the field for the past. Oh man, this is bad to admit, but like really the only past 5 years or so. I mean, I've only been in this field maybe almost 6.5 years now. Okay, um, I worked for several people at first. We did programming, but it was more spec by the customer. We just made it site specific. We did new installs, but never live sites. So I got a ridiculous amount of experience doing that, and that's like where I honed my attention to detail, attention to good install, wiring, cables, all that. And then once I kind of maxed out there, I knew like, hey, I want to take this further. So I worked for some people for a while that were crazy that took a chance to let me program from scratch, and that was a whole nightmare. I mean, really, anybody from the San Antonio AWC team can attest to that because I think I was calling those guys on a daily basis having a panic attack. So shout out to Matt Paulison and Aaron Mooney. They really they taught me a lot, helped me out. A trial by fire. I tried working at a plant for a while. I think I was there for a year. Great company, great people. It just maybe wasn't a fit for me. Because
Yeah.
by that time I had started working for that plant, I was pretty deep in my automation knowledge and was pretty good at getting good at programming, was pretty self-sufficient at programming. And I don't know, I'm too ADHD to do the same thing every day. And so did that. And then, man, it was really a God thing. Me and my wife, we've always been real good with money. We had been saving up, we had a nest egg. And then right around that time, um, we had a 9-second Pontiac GA. It was a Hellcat killer. We were racing it pretty religiously. The guy I bought it from had offered to buy it back for a significant amount more than we had purchased it for. And the moment that happened, customer X, who I can't say yet because this project is still ongoing in some ways, Josh Varghese at Trace Route had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I need a 4-week contract. It's not much, but it would be enough to get you going." And so my wife and I, we sit down, we prayed about it. She was like 7 months pregnant when this came up.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So we sold the car. We took the money from the race car and the money we had saved up. And gosh, she's the real deal. Cause I went up to Ohio and she had to pack, like her and my dad and her mom and all them. They packed our whole house up in Lubbock. We were 7.5 hours from home. They moved her and my 1.5-year-old to her mom's house here in East Texas. And my 4-week contract ended up turning into a 10-week contract. So I was in Ohio for 10 weeks straight.
Oh, wow.
And we just never turned back on it.
Yeah. Good. Well, congrats. Can you tell me a little bit about your business? How'd you come up with the name that you have?
Yeah. So actually, my first job in this field I did with my dad, and he doesn't have any automation experience, but he can do like the man is insane. He's the smartest person I know. He's very good with details, and he's a perfectionist. And so I figured there would be a time where we might continue to do more jobs together. And so I was like, okay, my last name is Travis. And I thought, well, Travis and Travis. And that's really all it is. Travis and
Okay.
Travis TNT. And it stuck, at first I had like this really cheesy logo and this horrible little cheesy oil field slogan. It was like affordable rates, explosive prices. And it was cheesy, but the customers loved it. All my oil field guys, they thought it was great. And then when I got out with some other customers, some other stuff I'd worked on, my wife was like, "Hey, you really got to drop the cheesiness. Like it's time to get serious, And
Yeah.
so that's kind of how that all came about.
Well, good for you. Yeah, your website looks great. We'll have it posted in the description. So if anybody wants to take a look at it, they can go check it out.
Yeah, before y'all do that, I made that, okay, and I'm clearly not a web designer, and I really need to update it. I have a lot of projects that aren't on there yet. I really need to get on there, but all the pictures on there are all from projects. That was one thing I wanted to do. I wanted every picture on there to be something I've had my hands in, so that is the one cool thing.
And that's important. I think it really shows authenticity, and yeah, I think that's good that you're doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and then what are some of your future goals as a self-employed business owner? You looking to grow? What's kind of the plan?
Yeah, actually, that's kind of like what my life has been consumed with lately, where we're at. For a while, I was thinking about hiring and going that route and growing, but really, from what I'm experiencing and seeing, like even if you're a larger integrator, I know some great integrators. They're the best at what they do. Like the headaches are just there, right? We don't have enough people in our industry that have the experience to make a large firm, to me, for what I do, be worth the headache. So, man, actually, I'm subbing. I'm going a completely different route. I sub some guys like Davide over at IoT, James Joy, Josh, obviously, some people I trust with my life that are just top notch, tip of the spear type of guys that can really do some crazy stuff. And that way, when we have bigger projects, I know they're doing it at the level I do it, and in their case, sometimes better, right? And I'm focusing I've always I'm a go-getter, right? I'm always trying to do the next thing. So to grow that income, I'm actually starting up like going to tax sales. My wife's uncle, he's all into tax sales and stuff. They find these people that don't pay their taxes and sell property or land or whatever it is. And I'm trying to get started some Airbnbs going.
Oh,
We've had
good.
rental property in the past, and we did really well on that. I don't know that I want the headache of full-time renters again. So that's kind of what I like about the Airbnb, right? Have a company service it out and just keep it rolling.
Yeah, good for you. Diversify. That's key.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just looking for different ways to get passive income without necessarily having to employ people. And really, I think the hard thing for me is I don't mind being like, there's times where I get stuck on something on site. If I have to stay there 18 hours straight to fix it, I'm going to stay there 18 hours straight to fix it. And it's not really right to ask that of somebody else,
Yeah.
but my customers love that. Like they love that service. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm stubborn, but I don't want to give up that quality aspect. I'm just not there. It's just not the route I'm going to take. So maybe that'll change in the future. But for right now, I'm just focused on using a handful of people that are some of the top in the business and providing good solutions for our customers.
Well, congratulations on that aspect of it. And you kind of touched on it there for a second. So I want to hit this. So who are some of your clients that you're working with?
Well, okay. I can't say client names. There's a couple reasons for that, but I'll tell you the industries, and it's
Sure.
very obviously I have my normal oil and gas. I can say this, that I'm not going to say their name, but a lot of you people that were following me last summer, I was posting very heavily. I wrote the code for and commissioned and am still working on the second largest grass cleaning facility in the nation. And as a matter of fact, the phase we did last year is the only facility in the nation that they're cleaning Kentucky bluegrass at 98% purity at 25,000 pounds per hour.
Wow.
So, when season started up, they were having like 50 18-wheelers a day show up and dump raw seed on the ground straight from the fields. And we were just sending it as fast as we can. So that guy keeps me busy year round. We're always growing and always adding. He's got several different lines. And then my oil and gas customers, I just picked up a really big PO in the food and beverage industry. That's going to be a game changer. That's the first time a customer's ever cut me loose and said, hey, we want you to architect it from scratch. So everybody knows availability and products is an issue right now, so I'm not your typical Rockwell house. I do obviously do a lot of Rockwell work, but I try to base my solution based on what fits the customer best. So we were able to build out a solution where every single part of the solution is available. There's backups on the shelf. There's no back order on any of it. All open source, very secure. And it basically is built in a way where the customer's ability to scale is limitless. They can take it as little as they want or as large as they want. I'm really excited about that. There'll be a lot of posting going around that.
Yeah.
Here.
Looking forward to seeing that. And then on that note, you've kind of been talking about these things, but what are some of the likes that you enjoy about being in this automation industry?
Man, I really my wife will attest to this, because when I get on something, I'm stuck. Like if I get something and I can't get it to go the way it's supposed to go, I won't leave it alone until it's right, and that kind of translates over into the field. My customers love it because it doesn't matter what time of night or day it is. If I'm on it, we're on it. But really just, I love problem solving. When I first started into this, an old man had said, him and his wife were actually in the field. And he said, when we learn how to troubleshoot the right way, it start thinking like the troubleshooting thought process translated to every aspect of their life. And I didn't really know what he meant back then, but I see that now. Like, doesn't matter if I'm working on a system or my kid's bicycle, right? Like if something's not, it's instantaneous to the methodical thought process. And I enjoy it, man. I like tearing problems apart and finding solutions for them.
Yeah.
I like diversity. I haven't been on a project yet that's the same. Every single project I get on is different. I really like that because I'm so high strung and ADD. I get bored easy, right? So like the fact that they're all different, it keeps
And
things going.
I think a lot of people are in the same boat as you, is where they like to see the different projects, and that's the one thing about contracting, being self-employed, that you do see a lot is different applications, different customers,
Absolutely.
unique projects. No project is the same. So I think that's something that everyone in this industry really does enjoy. I know I do myself. On that, what about something you don't like? What about the industry? Do you think we could improve on?
Yeah.
What do you see?
Man, there's a lot of, I deal with this a lot, and I used to hate it. Now I actually look forward to it because I know once I show them like we're the real deal, they always end up, it changes things. But like just being stuck. There's a lot of people stuck in their ways in this, and like especially I'm not calling older people out. And I get where they're coming from because they see a lot of young kids coming in, they don't know what they're doing. But there are times where I'm on a project where the customer's held up because their normal guy's way older and he doesn't want some young kid telling him how to do it different. And then days go by and time's wasted. Finally, the customer breaks and says, "Here, try it your way." We do it and it works. And they're like, "Well, dang, we just wasted 4 days,
Yeah.
and we got to get past that. I mean, if you look at like software development side of things compared to like specifically PLC code, we're so far behind with, version control, source control, all that. It just commenting, it's all way behind. We're stuck in a typical way of doing things. And I think as bad as it sounds, like as bad as availability and all this craziness we're seeing is, I think it's really started to blow people's eyes open because they're having to try different solutions they normally wouldn't try. And for guys like me that quote a lot of off the wall stuff, that's great. But they're saying like, hey, we don't have to spend, $7,000. Well, we had this conversation today. We were looking at, I'm not going to say their name, but y'all all know who they are. One of the major players. One of my customers has their processor and it wouldn't do a long reel. And this is a $7,000 controller. So we had to do a calculation that works with the precision of the floating point to make it keep going and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but there is a processor on par with it for Siemens for a tenth of the cost that would have done it. It's just crazy that we're in that industry where a $1,400 controller can do what a $7,000 controller do, and people are still buying a $7,000 controller because it's what the rest of the whoever's using. It just drives me crazy.
Well, and I think that's part of the thing too, is getting some of these customers up to speed with the current latest and greatest. And I'm sure you've seen, especially on the industrial side, some of the stuff, everything's outdated and maybe they aren't using the newest technologies. I'm sure you're seeing a bunch of that as well.
Yeah, I was at a customer site the other day. I was quoting a retrofit, and they have a Slick 5, and it's still running, all reliable, but he said another integrator had come out and said, like, it would really inconvenience you if this thing went down. And I was just for, like, really inconvenience is a slight way to put that, But what's really going to happen is you're going to be down for months if you're wanting to do it direct, just stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's so much of this secrecy crap. Everybody thinks they've got something proprietary going on, and people lose sight of, like, it's really about what's important for the customer's need, right? Like, people lose sight of that. Like, let's focus on the solution needs to be based on what is best for the customer and what is best for their situation. Nothing else matters. I think that's why a lot of vendors don't like me, but my customers love it because I'm not going to be vendor specific. Never have, never will be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people told me in the beginning, like, oh, you can't do that. You need to go get a vendor and they'll feed you work. Otherwise you're going to starve. And I can say for anybody out there that doesn't want to be vendor locked, that's not the case.
Yeah.
If you're honest, do what's right, and work hard, the rest comes.
You're absolutely right. And good for you for sticking to your guns there. I want to touch on a little bit because I know you're a workaholic. I myself am too, but how do you balance that with the rest of your life? I know you got a family as well. So how do you do the work-life balance? What's that mean to you?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's just a God thing that I'm naturally high strung because I get off work and then I'm still like ready to go bang, 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 whatever we're doing with my wife and kids, and I don't know that I'll always be that way, but I've been that way my whole life. So I don't know. It never really feels like I don't feel like we're sacrificing. As a matter of fact, and my wife, she's the one who confirms this, right? She'll tell me all the time, like, God, we have such a good thing going. I'm like, thank you for saying that. Because sometimes I do worry about it. Like, am I too stuck on this? Am I too? But I don't know. Just even the days I feel tired, I just suck it up. I'll feel tired and feel like slouching on the couch. And I just realize like this is not their fault. They need their time, and I'm gonna suck it up. I'm gonna get off this couch. I'm gonna go do what I need to do. Some people are always like worried about like, man, you've been traveling, but yes, I travel. Like, and if I had to do the thing where I was gone for 10 weeks in a row again, that would really be not good right now. But I get these jobs all the time where I'm gone for 3 to 4 days or maybe a week at a time. That's great, dude, because like me and my wife have a chance to miss each other. If I was home all the time, I would drive her nuts. I'm way too high strung. My kids miss me. Dad's all of a sudden the coolest thing on earth when I get home. It's just a good balance. I'll be home for a long time working. And And then I think that it really is a good ecosystem, because by the time I'm starting to get burnt out working from my office every day, I'm out of town for a few days and then I'm ready to be back home.
Yeah.
And just having that balance helps. So I don't know. I think that's another reason I don't really want to bring on employees, because if I brought on employees, then I think I would have to focus so hard on what's going on over here. I'd have to sacrifice here. And at this point, man, since I haven't been sacrificing and had a good taste of this balance,
Yeah.
I won't give it up. We invest heavily in our retirement account. We have other avenues. We do a lot. We're grinders. You know, my wife owns a business too. I wouldn't sacrifice the time I have with them right now for nothing.
Yeah. Good. Well, congratulations for your wife too. That's great. It sounds like you both are very self-motivating people. So that's awesome to see in a power couple like that. So congratulations there.
I want to give her credit on that. Like, just in case this helps somebody out here, is, if you're going to do this, if you're venturing out and you're married, or if you're not and you're thinking about getting married, you need someone that's on board. Because like I said earlier, when we moved and I quit my job, my wife was 8 months pregnant. Okay, I'm not a bath person. Like, I take showers, but like, I can remember a 2-week period where I would crawl in her bathtub at 12 in the morning because I was so anxious I couldn't sleep, and just sit in hot water for hours. That sounds weird, but like, I was so anxious about what we were doing and so nervous. It was eating me alive. And she never, I don't know, it's like she never skipped a beat. She just had that trust. She always had faith. When I was like doubting myself, she would speak kind words, and I knew she meant it.
Yeah.
So if she wouldn't have been supportive, like, I wouldn't have done it, because you won't make it if your partner's not on board. It's just not gonna. It's too much.
Yeah.
That first year and a half, which I'd like to touch on in a second, is a monster. Really, because nobody really explains. You're not just out solving automation problems anymore. I'm learning accounting. I'm learning tax code. I'm
Yep.
learning, like, I'm invoicing. Oh my God, I screwed up my first invoices so bad. And if I didn't have Josh and the product manager on the job we were on, he was aware. They worked with. I could have screwed myself to death, and they didn't allow that to happen. And luckily, they were just great guys and helped me out. But I mean, dude, I had to learn all that. And
Yep.
man, there's a lot. That first year and a half is either going to make or break you, and that's all there is to it.
Yep.
I had a guy owe me a significant amount of money for 75 days, and he knew I had 2 kids at home. That nearly, I think that's the closest I've been. There were days I thought my heart was just going to stop beating, because we had just bought a house. I had my kids. We were home finally, and we were about to sink. I could see it. I could see the accounts coming down,
Yep.
but luckily we had been diligent with our money and had that money to float us. But I mean, it got scary low, and that was hard.
Yeah.
And now we're way past that, right? We've figured that out. I've learned it's okay to fire a customer if they're not going to be a good customer. And I don't know, you just got to be good with money, man. If you're going to get into this, you have to be good with money.
Yep.
You can't go blowing it.
Yep. Great point. And on that, you're good with money. You're also good with social media. How did you get such a great following here? What's the secret to your success, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Lots of prayers, really. I mean, seriously, just sticking with it. I think a lot of people get on LinkedIn, and it's typical, right? Their connections are so boring. They don't post anything, and they think it's a dead end. Well, I felt the same way. I just started taking pictures of my posts, videos of my work, and posting. Now, there's things here I don't really ever talk about, but like, there's keys. I don't ever post a customer's name. I don't ever post details that could get me in trouble with the customer. You got to be careful, right? But
Yep.
I found all my customers are my connections on LinkedIn. Everything I post, my customers see. And I've never had any backlash. I check with them, make sure it's okay. But a lot of them came to me from my posts. They know what I'm doing.
Yep.
They know I'm good at what I post. But 99%, I only have had one contract that I didn't get from LinkedIn, literally. And I have worked for, I can't name projects, but I've worked for Amazon, Nestle, some backwoods Tesla stuff, just some I can't name. I really wish I could name. I was on a project with like 3.5 miles of conveyor belts, 1,800 drives,
Wow.
60 control panel. I mean, just monstrous. Where I haven't been able to post about any of that yet, but it's coming one day. It's coming. you
Good.
know.
Looking forward to those posts as well.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Um,
just craziness.
so what are some of the lessons learned? It seems like in a short amount of time, you've got so much experience, so many different customers, so many different types of projects. What are some lessons learned that you've come away with?
Yeah, you just got to be straightforward. I think that's the biggest thing. When I first started out, it was really hard for me to mess something up and own up to it. Not that I didn't mind like being responsible, but like you know how it is. You get into the program and responsible for a lot more critical things than you are if you're just troubleshooting an instrument, right? Um, but I did. Like I remember one time I had to call my boss because I blew up some wellhead transmitters. Literally, like it was that we had been using these certain types of transmitter where it was built in, and this was when I was really new, right? And we had swapped to a different transmitter, but he didn't explain to me like, hey, the transmitter's not in there; it's a third party piece. I just hooked it up to a half-inch nipple and thought I was doing the right thing and sent it. And I'm walking away from the wellheads to the HMI, and I hear boom, 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 and I look back, and these oleum tech pressure transmitters are blowing and gas, and it's blowing out, and the
Oh man.
truck driver's like waving me down. I was like, "I shut the well in." So, obviously that's a terrible phone call. You don't ever want to have to make, but I did. I had to call my boss and say, "Hey, I'm not going to say what I had to say, but it was
A
bad."
few choice words.
Yeah, right. I screwed up is a nice way to put it.
Yep.
But I did, and you know what? Obviously that was an awkward moment, but it went so much better for me just being straight with him instead of trying to beat around the bush because there's
Yep.
no beating around the bush, right?
Yep.
Uh,
Just being honest.
and the reason I bring that point up is because I see a lot of customer downtime that stems from either their techs not being real with them or their integrator doesn't want to tell them they did a mistake, right? Something stupid sometimes, but now we're costing the customer down. Just be real.
Yeah.
And don't think you're the smartest person in the room. It's okay to not be the smartest person in the room. Listen, keep your ears open. And I think the biggest thing that I really struggled with was there were times I knew something wasn't right, or in my head I knew it, and I would keep my mouth shut or like try to say it, but not really try to say it because the people in the room were older than me and smarter than me and been doing this longer. And I knew they didn't want to listen.
Yeah.
Finally, I just started speaking up. And there were times, it was awkward a lot. They would look at you like, yeah, whatever, whatever. But when it comes out, now they respect you, and
Yeah.
now they're listening. And it really doesn't matter what your age is or what your experience. If you know something's right or if you know something's wrong, could be right. Something's
Yep.
wrong, but the other people want to do it. Speak up and say something.
Yep.
Don't do something if you know in your heart, like, hey, I know this is not right. Don't do it.
Yep. Well, and
And it's awkward.
that's
Yeah.
great. And honestly, my next question here was some words of inspiration for somebody, in your footsteps, thinking about doing the controls engineering, getting into automation. What are some inspirational words? But I think you just kind of summed it up right there. I mean, speak up, tell the truth, be honest with your customers. If you see something that's wrong, say it. So you kind of just touched on everything I was just going to ask.
Yeah. And really, like, if you're getting into this game, like, reading is great, but doing is better. Read a lot, read what you learn it, but then like try to put what you're wanting to do to like get you. I mean, dude, you can go to get a Raspberry Pi now and download codices to it. Like, you don't have to have a ControlLogix or a Siemens or something sit on your desk. Go get you a Raspberry Pi, come up with a problem you want to solve, and try to solve it.
Yeah.
We have all these Modbus simulators and stuff like OPC simulator clients. You can download so many free tools and whatnot and just try. You have to do it for yourself. You get stuck, post it. I post stuff all the time. It's like, oof. I remember when I first got on LinkedIn, I would post questions and be like, do I really want to post this? People are going to think I don't know what I'm talking about, but I posted it anyways. And the feedback was so much better than I thought. People didn't treat me like that. They were willing to help and they were excited to help. And that's when it really started coming on for me. I was like, okay, there's something to this platform here.
Yeah. And it's such a great community. Like you said, you can reach out, ask people questions, make connections, meet new customers, meet new business partners. It's a heck of a great platform. Before we end here, I guess where can everybody find you? LinkedIn, obviously. Where can people reach out to contact you?
Yeah, that's really the main one, right? I have my website. my email and all that stuff's on my LinkedIn. But I try to keep my personal stuff out of my LinkedIn just because I have my whole personal life, right? I try to keep the two separate. So I mean, but dude, I'll talk integration automation with anybody any day. Just hit me up on LinkedIn. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, great, great. Well, thanks again for being on today's show. If you guys enjoyed the episode, please give us a like, a comment, a share, and we look forward to having you join us next time here on Engineers and Automation. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you. I enjoyed
Yep.
it.
Thank you.